The bell above the door jingled, signaling another customer's arrival at Rosie's diner. The sound was routine, yet every time it rang, it carried the weight of possibility, maybe a big tip, maybe a rude customer, or maybe just another table that would come and go without much thought. Emily Carter barely looked up from behind the counter as she wiped a coffee cup with a dish towel. The night shift always dragged, and tonight was no exception. Her feet ached, her apron had more coffee stains than she cared to admit, and she was running on nothing but fumes and determination. The diner wasn't much, a small, family-owned place just outside Washington, D.C. It had been around for decades, a relic of the past in a world moving too fast. The red leather booths were cracked from years of use, and the neon sign outside flickered unpredictably. But for Emily, it was home. She had started working here 2 years ago after life threw her one curveball too many. College had been a dream she couldn't afford anymore, not after her mom got sick. The medical bills had drained everything they had, and when the eviction notice came, Emily had no choice but to take whatever work she could find. That's how she ended up at Rosie's. And now, it felt like she had been here forever. Table by the window, her coworker Lisa called from the back. Emily sighed, shoving the towel into her apron pocket. Got it. She grabbed her notepad and made her way toward the new arrival. The customer had chosen a booth near the window, where the dim streetlights cast long shadows on the table. He was young, tall, with a quiet presence. He wore a plain hoodie, the hood pulled low over his head, but as Emily got closer, something about him seemed oddly familiar. She put on her best customer service smile. Welcome to Rosie's. Can I get you started with something to drink? The young man looked up, and for a split second, Emily froze. She knew that face. Not personally, but from television, from news articles, from endless discussions on social media. The sharp features, the unmistakable blue eyes. Barron Trump. Emily quickly composed herself, forcing herself to act normal. He's just another customer, she told herself. He's here to eat, not make headlines. Just a coffee, please, he said, his voice polite but reserved. Emily nodded, jotting it down. You got it. As she walked back to the counter, her mind raced. What is he doing here? Why is he alone? Should I say something? She wasn't political, at least, not in the way that mattered to most people. She had seen the news, had heard all the opinions about his family, but she had never once considered what it must be like to be him. To grow up in the public eye, to be judged before even having a chance to define yourself. Lisa leaned in as Emily poured the coffee. Do you know who that is? Emily shot her a look. Of course I do. Keep your voice down. Lisa smirked. What do you think he's doing here? I have no idea, but we're not making a big deal about it. Lisa shrugged, clearly disappointed she couldn't make a scene. Emily grabbed the coffee and walked back over. She set the cup down gently. Here you go. Do you need a few minutes with the menu? Barron shook his head. Just a cheeseburger. And fries, if they're good. Emily chuckled. They're passable. For the first time, Barron cracked a small smile. She hesitated, then asked, mind if I ask, why here? I mean, I assume you could eat anywhere. He exhaled, glancing out the window. I was just driving. Needed some air. Ended up here. Emily nodded, sensing there was more he wasn't saying. Well, you picked a decent spot. Just don't expect 5-star service, she teased. Barron smirked. I'll keep that in mind. As she walked away, she felt something strange, an odd sense of connection, like she had just spoken to someone who understood what it was like to feel lost. She didn't expect the night to be anything more than that. She had no idea how wrong she was. The smell of sizzling burgers filled the air as Emily placed Barron's order in the kitchen window. She leaned against the counter for a moment, glancing back at the young man sitting by the window. Most customers who came through Rosie's diner were forgettable, travelers stopping in for a quick bite, exhausted locals grabbing coffee before a long shift. But Barron Trump was different. Not because of his last name. Because of the way he carried himself. There was a quiet heaviness in his posture, something Emily recognized all too well. She had seen it in the mirror after her mom's diagnosis, after her father left, after she had been forced to put her dreams on hold. It was the look of someone who felt alone in a room full of people. She poured another cup of coffee, debating whether or not to say something. She didn't want to pry, but something told her that maybe, just maybe, he needed to talk. She walked back over to his table and set the fresh cup down. "On the house," she said. Barron glanced up, surprised. "Thanks." Emily shrugged. "I know what it's like to need a moment to breathe." His expression flickered with something unreadable. "Yeah. I guess you do." She hesitated, then slid into the booth across from him. "Look, I don't mean to be weird, but, are you okay?" Barron exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, people have already decided who you are?" Emily blinked at the question. It wasn't what she had expected, but she understood it completely. "All the time," she admitted. "People look at me and assume they know my story. Some think I'm just some waitress who didn't try hard enough. Others pity me like I'm some sob story." Barron nodded. "And no matter what you say or do, they never see you, just the version of you they've created." "Exactly." There was a long pause. Then Barron leaned back, staring at his coffee. "People have an opinion about me before I even open my mouth. Some hate me because of my name. Others expect me to be something I'm not. I don't even know who I am yet, but it feels like the whole world already decided for me." Emily studied him for a moment. "That sounds exhausting." "It is." She thought about what it must have been like growing up in the shadow of a name that carried so much weight. No room to make mistakes. No space to be a normal kid. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Who do you want to be?" Barron was silent for a moment, then let out a soft chuckle. "You know, no one's ever really asked me that." Emily tilted her head. "Then maybe you should start asking yourself." Barron looked at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. "You're different," he said. She smirked. "So are you." For the first time that night, the heaviness in his shoulders seemed to lighten, if only just a little. Neither of them knew it yet, but this conversation would change everything. The diner had quieted down as the night stretched on. The sound of silverware clinking against plates had become occasional, the hum of conversation dwindling as the late-night crowd trickled out. Emily had spent the last hour checking on Barron every so often, not in a way that made it obvious, but enough to make sure he knew someone was there, if he wanted to talk. And to her surprise, he did. Their conversation had drifted into unexpected places, life, expectations, and the loneliness of being misunderstood. Barron wasn't what the headlines made him out to be. He wasn't arrogant, detached, or entitled. If anything, he seemed like someone who had spent most of his life feeling like an outsider, despite being in the center of the world's attention. As Emily refilled his coffee for what must have been the fourth time, she noticed the slight change in his posture. He seemed lighter, his expression less guarded. "You know," Barron said, tapping his fingers against his mug, "this is the first normal conversation I've had with a stranger in a long time." Emily leaned against the booth, crossing her arms. "Normal? Buddy, I work in a diner where a guy once tried to pay for his meal with a lottery ticket. This isn't normal, it's special." Barron chuckled, shaking his head. "Fair point." She hesitated, then asked, "So, what happens now? You head back to whatever life you were trying to take a break from?" Barron exhaled. "Yeah, I guess. But for the first time in a while, I don't feel like I have to." Emily tilted her head. "That's a good thing, right?" I think so. A comfortable silence settled between them. It was strange, really, two people from completely different worlds, finding understanding in the most unlikely of places. But the night was winding down, and reality had a way of reminding people that moments like this didn't last forever. Barron pulled out his wallet and placed a few bills on the table. Thanks for the coffee. And the conversation. Emily grabbed the check and her notepad. Of course. You. She stopped mid-sentence, eyes widening as she saw what was written on the receipt. A note. And below it, a $10,000 tip. Her breath caught in her throat. For your kindness. For your strength. Never stop believing in yourself. BT. Emily's hands trembled as she read it again, making sure she wasn't imagining things. Her coworker, Lisa, peeked over her shoulder and nearly choked. Emily, is that real? Emily wasn't sure if she could breathe, let alone speak. Barron was already standing, halfway to the door, when she finally found her voice. Wait. He turned, eyebrows raised. She rushed over, holding the receipt like it was made of glass. I can't take this. Barron smiled, and for the first time, it was a genuine, full smile. Yes, you can. Emily shook her head, her emotions tangled between gratitude and disbelief. But why? Barron met her gaze. Because you reminded me that people still see me, not just my name. And because kindness should be rewarded. Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but she blinked them back. You don't know how much this means to me, she whispered. Barron nodded. I think I do. And with that, he walked out the door, no cameras, no expectations, just an act of kindness that would change someone's life forever. Emily stood frozen in the middle of Rosie's diner, the receipt still trembling in her fingers. The number stared back at her, $10,000. More money than she had ever seen at once. More than what she made in months of endless shifts. Her mind raced. This can't be real. But it was. Lisa grabbed her arm, eyes wide. Emily, do you have any idea what this means? This could change everything for you. Emily's breath came in short gasps. Her heart pounded in her chest, not just because of the money, but because of what it represented. It wasn't just cash. It was validation. For the first time in years, someone had seen her struggle and said, I believe in you. Her manager, a burly man named Tom, wandered over, frowning. What's going on? Lisa shoved the receipt in his face. Look at this. Barron Trump left her 10 grand. Tom's eyes widened. Holy, he let out a low whistle. Kid's got a good heart. Emily's throat tightened. What do I even do with this? Lisa snorted. You cash it, dummy. Emily bit her lip. She had spent so long scraping by, learning to survive on tips and pennies, that the idea of suddenly having something felt surreal. She looked toward the door, but Barron was long gone. Gone, but not forgotten. A decision that matters. The next morning, Emily sat at her tiny kitchen table, the receipt resting in front of her like it held the secrets of the universe. She had barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Barron's words. Because kindness should be rewarded. A million thoughts swirled in her mind. Pay off rent. Save it. Try to track him down and return it. Then she thought of her mother. The hospital bills. The treatments she couldn't afford. The crushing weight of helplessness she had felt every time she had to tell the doctors, I'll figure something out. She picked up her phone and dialed the number she had memorized by heart. A woman's voice answered. Dr. Patel's office, how can I help you? Emily took a deep breath. Hi, this is Emily Carter. I'd like to schedule a consultation for my mother. I think I can finally afford it. And just like that, everything changed. The news spreads. A few days later, Emily showed up to work as usual, but something felt different. The diner was busier than normal, filled with murmuring customers. Lisa rushed over the second she walked in. "Oh my God, have you seen the news?" Emily frowned. "What?" "No, Lisa shoved her phone in Emily's face. A headline blared across the screen. Barron Trump's random act of kindness, waitress receives $10,000 tip, uses it to save mother's life. Emily's stomach dropped. How? Lisa scrolled down. Somebody at the diner must have leaked it. Now it's everywhere. Emily's hands trembled. This wasn't what she had wanted. She didn't take the money for attention. She had just wanted to help her mom. But now, the world knew. And the world had opinions. The internet reacts. By the time Emily got home, her social media had exploded. Her inbox was flooded with messages. Some were kind. "You deserve this. Such an inspiring story." Others, not so much. "Gold digger. Probably faked the whole thing for sympathy." Another sob story trying to make a Trump look good. Emily swallowed hard. She had never asked for this. She wasn't some political statement. She was just a girl trying to get through life. Her phone buzzed again. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello." A familiar voice came through. "Hey. It's Barron. A conversation that matters." Emily nearly dropped the phone. "How did you?" Barron chuckled. "I still have friends who know how to find people." Emily exhaled, trying to steady herself. I didn't mean for this to become a whole thing." "I know." The weight of everything pressed on her. "People are making this into something it's not." Barron's voice was calm. "It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you did with it." Emily swallowed. I wanted to help my mom." "And you did." She closed her eyes. "How do you deal with it? People deciding who you are before they even know you." Barron was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "You don't let them. You live your life. And eventually, the truth speaks louder than the noise." Emily took a deep breath. Maybe he was right. Maybe she didn't have to explain herself to anyone. Maybe she just had to live. A new beginning. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. The media storm eventually died down, replaced by newer, flashier stories. But Emily's life had changed. Her mother started treatment. The weight of financial struggle lifted, at least a little. And Emily? She started dreaming again. For the first time in years, she considered going back to school. She started saving, not just to survive, but to build a future. And one night, as she wiped down the counter at Rosie's diner, she thought about the boy who had walked in on a random night, just looking for a moment of normalcy. The boy who had unknowingly changed her life. And she smiled. Because sometimes, the smallest moments had the biggest impact. And kindness? Kindness had a way of coming full circle. Final thoughts. This story isn't just about money. It's about perspective. It's about how a single act of kindness, a moment of human connection, can create ripples that change lives.